Okay, so it's Mrs. Hopkins 73, and I am continuing on my Echo on the Beach podcast, and I am going to continue from episode 7. I will give it a name later on. I haven't decided on a name. So here we go. So we left off at Daniel waiting for Abby. She's over at the beach, kissing Jimmy, watching the sunrise. Bray catches Daniel, all worried, not slept, drinking his 5th cup of coffee. Abby comes in, all sarcastic-like. He gives Abby the 3rd degree. She tells her dad where Jimmy took her, but she doesn't want to spill the details. Back at the bar, Finn is drinking his breakfast. The young Ian asks Finn if he wants to take Ivy to dinner, but he isn't having it. Daniel spots Jimmy at the beach. He asks to speak to Susan. Jimmy quickly asks if Daniel is still fancying his mother. Daniel tries to ask Jimmy if anything happened with Abby the night before. Jimmy also stays mum. Okay. Daniel basically says Jimmy needs to control any romantic feelings for Abby immediately, starting now. Jimmy seems flabbergasted and asks him, "Well, what about you and my mom? Are you gonna stop that too?" So Charlie and Narendra are at the diner. She asks him what he did last night. He says he Googled himself and he went on YouTube and imitates some Star Wars character. Maybe, yeah. She says, "Who is that supposed to be? Ewan McGregor?" Charlie says, "No, why? Do I look like him?" No, not at all. Okay. Daniel is in a mad scramble to find Susan, stops at the diner and asks Jackie. Her boyfriend Ian comes over, and he seems to make both Bray and Grace jealous by scooping Jackie up in his arms. Ian walks over to Grace and starts a chat. She grins, stands up, and tells him that she's glad he didn't get too hurt in the fire. Ian says he's still alive, just. Angela, the home wrecker, is sitting in the wrecker's arms. Isn't that a coincidence? Home wrecker, wrecker's arms, you know? And Susan walks in. Susan thanks her for the noontime drink. Angela says Susan sounded awful on the phone. Susan says she wanted to talk to someone who isn't in the mix and won't judge her. Susan says, "I know he's keeping things from me. I can feel it." She feels like she's the only one that feels bad about her family falling apart. She's feeling guilty that her son Jimmy caught her kissing her ex, Daniel. Angela's eyes express interest in this new information. What and when will she tell Mark? Dan parks his red VW van near the beach. Meanwhile, near the docks, Mark stops his run to call Angela, his mistress. He said this into the phone. "Hi, it's me. Tonight's starting to look difficult. Something's come up. In fact, the whole week's starting to look difficult. Not sure when I'll be able to get away. Call you when I can." Just then, his wife approaches from behind. She notices the phone, and she says, "You don't normally take your phone with you when you go for a run." Mark says, "No, I was expecting a call." Susan says, "Another one? No rest for the wicked." Mark quickly changes the subject. He asks about their son, Jimmy. At the teen hangout, the gang is playing pool. Charlie is practically drooling over Abby as Narendra looks on. She informs Charlie that she's going to be in charge of the pub, so she wants to take advantage and throw a small private party there. Mark is finishing his run, and we see him dropping in at Daniel's surf shop. He brings up the fact that their son and daughter's blossoming new romance is not ideal and tries some macho shtick on Daniel. Charlie goes over to the bar to join Norinda for closing time, or rather when Ivy will be heading off on her dinner date with Finn. Ivy comes by to drop off her furry old dog to Norinda, and she says not to serve underage nor drunks. Let's hope that stinker doesn't get into the beer either. The dog. Okay. Soon as Ivy leaves, Norinda gives Charlie his first free beer. He asks, who else is coming? Norinda answers, why, ain't I enough for you, Charlie? He notices her little country Daisy Duke inspired outfit. He hums and asks, is it fancy dress tonight? At the diner, Bray is really trying to help Jackie move boxes of heavy glasses. She points out that Ian usually helps with the heavy lifting. Bray gets miffed and pouts his face away. Norinda comes out from the cellar of the bar to a rowdy party. Looks like a small frat party. She's mad at Charlie for inviting these loud, annoying friends of his. Jimmy pops into the party. He asks for a vodka Coke. Some random guy is at the pump and Norinda blows a gasket. Grace asks her if the rumor is true. The first drink is free? Come on, that's what Charlie said. I'll have a double Jack Daniels. Charlie is at the table asking how last night went with Abby. Jimmy says, brilliant, at least I thought it did. But Daniel won't let him get near Abby. He confesses he stayed up all night with her, just talking. Charlie is trying to get more info, but nope. It was all innocent talking. Except now everything seems weird, Jimmy says. Charlie says it must be the full moon. Norinda locks the door to the pub and it's officially a private party. Norinda goes up to Charlie and fishes for compliments. He says she just doesn't look like herself. She looks weird. She gets offended. Daniel is asking Bray to make sure the sulking Abby doesn't sneak out tonight. So the little brother is in charge of keeping her home. Jackie and Ian head off home from the Beach Shop diner, which is downstairs from the Merrick's upstairs rooms. Abby comes down with a cardigan in hand to cover her sundress. She's asking Bray why their dad is acting like a paranoid psycho. Bray figures out that Daniel just doesn't want Abby to see Jimmy. Bray chalks it up to male menopause that Daniel's acting so weird. Abby asks Bray if he's going to enforce Dad's rules. Bray doesn't even put up a fight. Of course he doesn't. Little brother. Oh boy. He's probably going to want to sneak off too. I don't know. On the Finn and Ivy dinner date, Ivy is having a hard time just relaxing, and Finn just tries to put her at ease. She has some nice encouragement for the unemployed at the moment, Finn. Oh yeah, he lost his job. Or something, yeah. Ivy gets a little too comfortable and states that the prawns give her gas. Finn looks comically nervous or something. Don't order her any prawns. At the pub, Jimmy and Abby are making out. Jimmy looks like he's not enjoying it, concerned with Abby's dad, Daniel. Abby says he's just having a midlife crisis. His problem, not theirs. Norinda is upset and informing Charlie that his friends have made a mess of parts of the bar. They walk over to the back of the bar to brainstorm, but then Ivy shows up and is beyond angry at Norinda. She tells her to get rid of this lot quickly before she calls the police. Susan and Daniel walk into her living room, and she says Mark will be back any minute. Daniel says, it's you I have to speak to, actually. She offers a drink, and he accepts. She says, help yourself. They have a nice selection of bottles in their wet bar. He guzzles down a quick drink and blurts out, You weren't sleeping with Mark, were you, Susan, when I left? Susan stares at him and says, What's that got to do with anything now? Dan continues, Please, it's important. I need the truth. Susan says, We've been through this. Daniel, I thought we had, and I thought you had told me the truth. Susan, I did. I did, Daniel. Not that it makes any difference. Daniel, no, it turns out you haven't been telling the truth in years. Susan, what are you talking about? Daniel, come on, Susan. We've all had our fair share of secrets, but something like this. Mark comes in, slamming the door behind him. Mark says, Some people just don't listen. Susan tries to shush him. Don't start, Mark, please. Mark, anyone mind if I have a drink? See, you've already helped yourself, Dan. Just then Jimmy slides in quietly through a side door where nobody sees him. Daniel continues, Have you even told Jimmy? Susan, Told Jimmy what? What do you think has happened, Daniel? Mark, Want a top up there, Dan? Looks like you need one. Susan, I said don't, Mark. She looks bewildered. Talk to me, Daniel, please. Daniel, Why didn't you tell me? Susan, Tell you what? Daniel, That Jimmy was my son. Our son. Susan, Mark, and Jimmy all have dropped jaws as we go to the credits. End of episode 7. And there we have it. So make sure you're following and you hit the notification bell and come back and just give me some comments, give me a like, and hope you enjoy this recap podcast of Echo Beach called Echo on the Beach. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.